It is now 10 o'clock. We are about to begin, go through our session of responding to a precinct 2 opportunity. Today, Julie and I will be trading off. You'll see one of us will be speaking, one of us will be managing the Q&A in the chat. And we will have a special guest today. Jack Thomas will be joining us, and he'll talk a little bit about the Harris County Department of Economic Equity and Opportunity. So, opportunity. We're going to talk about the opportunities and how this can help you grow your business. So there are a few letters within opportunity that we really focus on, and that's the YOU. This is all about you. This is all about your business, how to grow this, how to do business with Precinct 2, how to do business with Harris County, and really take advantage of the opportunities that are out there. So this session is brought to you by Precinct 2 and the Business Together series that Commissioner Garcia has created for the residents of Precinct 2. He has a lot of different programs going on, and we're very happy to be a part of this. Here is the team at Precinct 2, or some of the team at Precinct 2. There's quite a few of them. So this is sort of this a snapshot of a few of them, and we have Jose. And Jose, you want to say a few words?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for joining us today. We wanted to welcome everyone and to learn a little bit more about how to do business with the county. Specifically, this one, we're going to work on doing things with Precinct 2. Commissioner Garcia is adamant about helping small businesses learn the process and feel comfortable approaching the county and government to do work with them as well. So we welcome you and thank you for your insight, and we're looking forward to a really good program with you today.
Thank you, Jose.
Thank you.
So you probably know a little bit about Commissioner Garcia. He has been very active in Harris County for a number of years in different positions, and he has always supported the small businesses. So we're very happy to be a part of this program. So a little bit of facts about Precinct 2. 1,300 miles of roads. It's 560 square miles. And look at all of the opportunities. You've got your community centers, your municipalities, school districts, libraries, just all of this happening in Precinct 2. And this is where all the magic happens. We do encourage you to take advantage, especially after you finish this program and you're going to have a little bit more understanding of the process to do business with Precinct 2. Go ahead and schedule your Meet the Buyer. Emily is going to drop that link into the chat, and you can schedule that one-on-one meeting with the buyer to kind of provide you with the overview of the county departments and really kind of set you up for success. It's every second Friday of the month. You need to go ahead and get yours scheduled because they do fill up quite quickly. We have all of Precinct 2, how to connect with them. They have a very active Facebook and very active LinkedIn. And again, Emily will be dropping all of those links in the chat. I would like to remind you that at the on our website, we will actually have a folder that will have all of the information. All the links that we're providing will be in a document. This will make it a little bit easier than trying to copy and paste them right now. All right, our special guest today is Mr. Jack Thomas, and he is going to be talking about the Department of Economic Equity and he is the new director. So, Mr. Thomas? Is he unmuted?
Yeah, that's annoying. We can't hear him.
All right, Mr. Thomas, we are unable to hear you. We show that you're unmuted, but we're not hearing you.
Can you hear me now?
We can. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So again, thank you for inviting me here this morning to share a little bit about our Department of Economic Equity and Opportunity and how we may be of service to the listening audience. We really appreciate the opportunity to be here this morning. So let's go on to our slides. I like to think about these sorts of messages in terms of 3 Ps. First of all, you have to know the program, you have to understand the process, and then engaging the people. And you touched on that a little bit this morning earlier with the meet the buyer opportunity. So that's how you start to engage the people. Next slide, please. So in terms of the program that I really want to speak about is the Harris County Minority Women Business Enterprises Program. This is part of the vision and mission of the Commissioner's Court, particularly Commissioners Ellis and Garcia, as I understand, were really the driving force behind the creation of this program. The establishment of this program came about after a long, protracted struggle. This is new for Harris County, but it's been going on for several decades in the Houston metropolitan area, particularly with the city of Houston. So we want to thank those 2 commissioners for their leadership and vision in making this opportunity available for the citizens of Harris County. So the MWBE policy was adopted in November of 2020. We have an aspirational goal of 30% of the county expenditures being with minority women businesses. We also set goals on a contract by contract basis for any purchase over $50,000 or more. And then our department, the Department of Economic Equity and Opportunity, and particularly the vendor diversity group, is we work hand in hand with the county purchasing department to make sure that we maximize the opportunities for MWBEs in all of our procurements. So the purpose of the program is to ensure competitive business opportunities for small minority women-owned businesses in the award and performance of county contracts. We want to prohibit discrimination on the basis of race, ethnicity, or sex in the awarding of those contracts. And we want to abolish all of the barriers for their full participation in our efforts. Next slide, please. One of the first things that you have to do, so we're into the process now, is your business needs to be certified. You don't have to be certified to do business with Harris County, but it does give you an additional opportunity to be competitive. If the opportunity is between you and a non-certified business, the edge would go to the certified business in terms of subcontracting opportunities. I'll put it in that context. So Harris County is not a certifying agency, but we do recognize and accept the certifications from the city of Houston, the state of Texas in the historically underutilized business program, the Texas Unified Certification Program, which is on the federal side, or disadvantaged business enterprises, and the Small Business Administration 8A. Those are the certifications that are acceptable and recognized by Harris County. Next slide, please. Now, the city of Houston has a number of pre-certification workshops. The certification process is as it's intended to be. It is designed to make sure that the programs benefit those individuals who are truly eligible, meaning that the business is owned, managed, and controlled at least 51% owned by minority or women business owners. And so that process is very thorough and very rigorous. But what the city of Houston has done is they have pre-certification workshops. So there is on their website a link to their YouTube channel where you can go through the pre-certification workshop and the question and answers at your leisure. There's also on the first and third Tuesdays, there's live certification workshops via Microsoft Teams. And if you want an in-person experience on the third Tuesday of each month, they will have an in-person workshop on certification. So we encourage you to go to the city's website and select that option which best meets your needs and your schedule. The times of that event and all the detailed information is contained on their website. Next slide. The next part of the process for doing business with Harris County is to get your business registered as a vendor. There's a number of tools on the Harris County website, purchasing department, that can help you with that process. And the links are included on this side. You want to register through the Bonfire portal. Bonfire is the platform through which all of our procurement opportunities are funneled through that. Next slide. If you are a professional engineer or architect, you should register. Unfortunately, you have to go to 3 different locations depending upon the entity you want to work for: the Harris County Engineering Department, the Harris County Flood Control District, and the Tollway Authority. All have their own individual registries that they use. So I would encourage you, if you're into, if that is the discipline that you have or that you use, that you go to those sites and register with them as well. And then finally, Harris Health. This is for registration with Harris Health for their vendor registration. So again, in terms of processes, this is part of what you need to do as a business owner to find out about opportunities with Harris County and our various entities. Next slide. One thing to pay particular attention to when you get certified, you're given by the certifying agency what is called a NAICS code. The North American Industry Classification System is what the acronym stands for. And that system categorizes all level of economic activity in North America. So depending upon the type of work that you perform and services that you provide, you'll receive these NAICS codes. When you go to register as a vendor, you have to select from the National Institute of Government Purchasing codes. These codes are different. And I would encourage, and there's like a gazillion of them. That's a huge number. I would encourage you, when you register as a vendor, to take the time and register for all of the different commodity codes that your business is capable of performing. And the reason why that's important is because once you register as a vendor, those codes will determine which opportunities you receive notice of from Harris County. So it's very important that you get all of your codes in there as possible, as completely as possible. You can always go back and update those codes as you take on additional disciplines and that sort of thing. So procurement types. There's a whole bunch of alphabets floating around. There's RFPs, RFQs, RFIs, RFPQs, ITB, IFB. And they come down to certain criteria. So the first one I want to talk about briefly is the request for qualifications, or RFQ. Now that is one that is typically used as a screening tool to establish a pool of vendors who can provide a particular service to Harris County. It's the first of a two-step process as a vendor pool is being developed. And so we will ask that you provide us with your particular qualifications, your corporate business resume, if you will. Once that is assembled, then usually there's a follow-up request for proposals that will be issued to that pool of vendors who have been deemed to be qualified to provide a particular service. Then there is the request for proposals itself, and it's used where we're trying to require some technical expertise, specialized capability, or where there's a product or service that just does not exist yet, and the proposal may require some research and development to create whatever it is that is being requested. That process will inform suppliers that we're looking to procure and encourage them to make their best efforts in their response. Specify what it is that we're intending to purchase, and it alerts suppliers that this is a competitive process. Request for information is one I've not had a great deal of experience with. In all of the years that I've worked, I can recall 2 instances where the agency that I worked for was issued a request for information. And usually it's primarily used to just gather information to help make a decision on what steps to take next as an organization. And usually once that information is received back from the vendors that are involved in this particular industry where we are seeking input, the follow-up to that will be the issuance of a request for qualifications or a request for proposals. And then lastly, there's the invitation to bid. This is one that is primarily driven by the numbers. The other ones, the request for qualifications and proposals, usually the qualifications for sure does not necessarily have any fees attached to it because there's generally not a scope of work. The request for proposals, if it's non-architectural, non-engineering, there will be a pricing piece that is attached to that. If it's a qualification-based selection, like for architects, engineering, then there's no discussion of pricing or fees. Next slide. So common response elements, excuse me, the transmittal letter. That obviously speaks for itself. That is the cover letter that is included with your response to a RFP, RFQ. This is where you put in writing your elevator speech, so to speak, and you tell us about your company, your team, how you are just summarizing your qualifications and that sort of information, a little bit about your organization itself, those sorts of things. The scope of services or the narrative of the proposed services. This is where you tell us your understanding of the project, what your approach would be, timelines, your plan, something that will indicate that you know exactly what it is that it's going to take to get this particular job done and why you are the best firm for selection to provide those services. The organizational information and qualifications, the size of your organization, the composition of your organization, your capacity, the resources that you're bringing to the table, projects that you have successfully completed in the past that are similar to what is being sought here, resumes, those sorts of things is what normally we see in the organizational information and qualifications. Again, this is where you really stretch your stuff. Legal documents, this would be things like, the various articles that are required, the insurance, bonding certificates, power of attorney, things like that would normally go into the legal documents section. And then if some organizations will provide you with a checklist, because there are so many documents that are required in terms of the response. So I would encourage you to use that checklist or develop your own if one is not included, to make sure that you have included all of the items that are being requested. We do see from time to time that things get omitted. And if, depending upon what it is, most of the time, if you omit something, then you're non-responsive to that particular request. And we know that it takes quite a bit of time and resources to put the responses together. And it's a bit of a shame when you're non-responsive because you omitted to include a particular document. The evaluation criteria. This is obviously very important. You need to know exactly what it is that is being expected and what you will be evaluated on. There are usually percentage points that are attached to the various criteria. And, and so one that I looked at that is currently, being sought for Harris County. This is the scope of services, 40%, qualifications and experience, 25, references, 25, and then pricing, 25. And again, you have to demonstrate your understanding of each of these items. Now, your proposals are being reviewed and evaluated. And so it's very important that you address very concisely your ability to hit each one of these items. Obviously, you want to maximize the points that you get from each of the criteria. Okay, so in determining how to respond, if you want to respond to a particular opportunity, and of course, if it's Harris County or Precinct 2, you certainly want to respond because we know that we are great owners, a great entity to work for. But just generally speaking, if you're looking at, and just generally speaking, you want to consider these things. What is the reputation of the project owner? Is it an entity that does or does not have a supplier diversity plan and policy? How will you be treated? Do they have a reputation of being fair and square dealing? Are they difficult to work for? Do they pay promptly? Those sorts of things that you want to, or what you want to be considering when you making a decision to pursue an opportunity or not. How are the services that are being sought currently being provided? Is the client pleased? Well, one thing to consider is if most of the time with Harris County, the contracts are multi-year contracts, but there's a renewal each year. There's an option the county can renew. So let's just say that this particular service has been, was awarded last year, but now it's back out. for bid. So that can be an indication that the county, for whatever reason, may not be particularly pleased with the performance of this particular vendor. Otherwise, the contract would have been just automatically renewed. You want to consider what is covered, what is not covered. What are the opportunities to pursuing this particular job? Is it you've never done work for Harris County or a particular client before, and you really want to have that opportunity just to get your foot in the door to really show what you can do and maybe become aware and consider for additional opportunities once you're inside the tent, so to speak? Who is my competition? Am I competing against other similarly sized firms, or am I going up against some of the giants in my particular industry? What are the long-term prospects? Is this an opportunity, again, to get my foot in the door and I can get a relationship established with Precinct 2 in Harris County? What is the term of this particular contract? Can I do it with my existing team, or do I need to ramp up? Do I need to hire people? Do I need to bring in some additional talent? Can I pursue this opportunity by myself? We really like to have MWBEs at that prime contracting level. That is our ultimate goal. And there's a number of different reasons for that. And one of which for me is it's an opportunity for the MWBEs to show leadership, that they can lead a team, that they can run a particular project or projects. And so that's very important. If they do need the team, and sometimes you just need the team because of the virtue of your size or the particular discipline that you're in lends itself to always being in a teaming relationship. So if you team, who do you want to team with? Who would be a good partner? How do you merge and blend what may be different corporate cultures to make sure that it's a win-win for everybody? And then what is the time frame for the return on my investment if I pursue this particular opportunity? Just a note of caution: when you are preparing responses, pay particular attention to the deadlines. If the responses are due at 1 o'clock on Monday, 1:01, 1:05 is too late. 1 o'clock means 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock really means getting it in early. Even if you are submitting it by email, which a lot of the responses are, don't wait until 12:58, 12:59 to hit that send button. Get that thing in as quickly as possible. I have seen situations where respondents thought that they were getting it in on time just minutes before the deadline. And in actuality, that was not the case. When it went through the server, it showed up at 1:01, 1:02, and those individuals were not responsive. Check for misspellings. Seems like you would automatically do that, but sometimes if you're just using that autocorrect, you're not getting things that are not catching everything. Most of the time we see a lot of responses that are coming out of a word processing system, and they go in because you do a lot of proposals and that sort of thing. We get that, but you have to really be careful that if you're responding to Harris County, that your response says Harris County throughout the document. It does not need to say the city of Denver somewhere in there. We've seen that. We've seen the organization's names misspelled. We've seen the incorrect logos and images from the sky scene. I'm trying to think of the term for that, where you would show the skyline. And so somebody may be responding to the city of Houston, but the skyline that they have on their proposal, on the cover of their proposal, may be New York City or something like that. You would think people would pick up on that, but I guess, you know, through the rushing and trying to get it in and trying to, you know, chase this work, there's some inattentiveness to detail, and things often get missed. Also, don't embellish your previous work qualification or the experience of your key staff. We've seen this on occasion, at least I've seen it in other places in my career, where key staff is identified as having a degree from a college or a university that has never offered that particular discipline. So, you know, things like just don't do it. It's just not worth that, your credibility and having your stuff thrown out. Pre-bid meeting checklist. Attend those pre-bid, pre-submittal conferences, listen to the discussion, and participate. Do your homework before you get there so that you can ask intelligent questions, so that you can get answers to those questions that you do have. Usually they are a good opportunity for networking, even in a virtual environment. A lot of the agencies and organizations have made some creative allowances to enable people to continue to network. Get a copy of the sign-in sheet or the attendance roster from the purchasing agent. And if you're looking to team, identify, even if you're not, identify those prime respondents. Again, who is your competition if you are going to submit as a prime itself? And if you're looking to team, you need to know who to try to reach out to and team with. Next slide. Have your capability statement available and your elevator speech. Use these as an opportunity to get to the key people and have a leave behind for them so that they can remember you and your firm and the capabilities that you provide. This is a good one to really, you know, find out the timing and distribution of any and all addendum, including information from the pre-bid conference. Normally, the addendum is the official Q&A recording of the discussion. There may be some answers to questions given at the pre-bid or submittal conference, and normally purchasing will tell you, yes, we gave you an answer at this meeting today, but the real answer for you to go with that's going to be the official response to that question is what we publish in the addendum. So you want to make sure that you get the addendum, that you have signed up and properly registered to receive that. I know that sometimes people may send you a copy of the RFP, and that's how you found out about the opportunity, and you found out about the meeting itself. But if you are not registered, you will not get that addendum 9 times out of 10. You also want to know who is on the evaluation or the selection committee. Not that, and this related to the next item, which is respect and adhere to the cone of silence. Normally, you are not able to approach and ask questions of those individuals who are going to be part of that selection process. And that's certainly fine in the way that should be. But you do need to at least know who they are. So that way you're able to identify the areas of the organization that are going to be responsible for the managing of that work and overseeing that particular contract. And you do want to have a relationship with those individuals, but that starts way months before the opportunity may even go on to the street. So I mean, if you are looking at Harris County as a potential client, precinct 2, you need to establish relationships with them way in advance before an RFP is issued, so that by the time something does become available that you are interested in and capable of performing, you do have those relationships where at least they know who you are and the type of services that you provide. Doesn't mean that you're going to get selected or anything like that, but at least people are aware of you and what it is that you provide. Okay, so business opportunities. Again, with Harris County, these are links to the purchasing department. The first one is the annual buying opportunities with Harris County. The next one is the flood control district's 12-month bid outlook. And then there's also a link to the Harris County Tollway Authority. These are a little different than the ones I gave you earlier, which are the how to get registered as a vendor. These are the actual links to the opportunity sections on their website. And finally, the one for our engineering department. Here's my contact information. I am generally in the office. You can reach me on my office phone, cell phone, or by email. And I am here to be of service to the listening audience and the Harris County community. You know, we're very serious about our MWBE program. We're very passionate about it. We work hard at it each and every day. We are the new kid on the block in terms of programs, but we are committed to this and we hit it hard each and every day. We want to get it right the first time. So we're here to serve. And with that, I will endeavor to answer any questions that you may have of me.
All right, Mr. Thomas, thank you. If you do have any questions, y'all can drop them in the Q&A section. We're going to go ahead and continue. If we get any questions, we'll let you know. All right. So our session today is to prepare you for opportunities with Precinct 2. It's going to set the foundation to ensure your success. And it's going to save you time. It's going to avoid some of the mistakes that could cost you the contract. It is not going to cover everything that you need to do business with Precinct 2. And of course, our disclaimer, this does not guarantee you a contract with a government agency. So what can you expect from us? Julie and I have prepared an engaging session for you. We're going to give you tools that you can immediately implement. We will have time for questions. We have questions you can drop in the Q&A, and we're going to try and make sure we have plenty of time for questions at the end. We're going to help you prepare a victory plan. We would like you to listen, participate, test drive some of these ideas, provide us feedback, and share and celebrate your successes. That really sort of drives Julie and I, the success of our clients. Here is the B2G Victory team. Emily is going to be dropping all of our contact information into the chat. Here's a little bit about Julie, and we're going to go through these very quickly. This is a little bit about me. Emily, Mark. So today, our agenda, we're going to help you prepare and respond. the different types of opportunities, responding to the opportunities, and common response elements. We're going to give you some examples of what those might look like, and also help you prepare for that very important pre-bid meeting. So I hope you are ready to engage. Again, questions, drop in the Q&A. The chat is going to have lots of links and lots of information. And again, that information will also be available on our website in a folder for today's event. So we've made things as easy as possible. Everything will be there for you. We'll also have some templates for you to use. All right, so we are going to our action plan. What are you going to do next week? What are you going to do in Q3? What are you going to do in Q4? And then what needs to be done next year? Government contracting is a marathon. It is not a sprint. It takes time. It takes time to establish. Like Mr. Thomas said, you need to start establishing those relationships now. Don't wait until the bid's out. Start establishing those relationships now. All right, so we're going to bring Julie up, and she's going to talk about all the different types of opportunities and some of the information you need to prepare.
Mr. Thomas did a great foundation for getting us ready for all of this. And we had a comment in the chat that this can be a lot, right? A little overwhelming. And so we don't want it to be a stressful experience. We don't want you to pull your hair out. We're here, the team at B2G Victory, the entire team at Precinct 2, the entire team at Harris County. We want you to be successful. That's why we're doing these programs. That's why they're every month and not instead of just a one and done. That's why Commissioner Garcia has pledged all of this commitment to businesses and has the proven track record for doing that. So we're going to take a little bit of a deeper dive into each one of those. Very quick, just a friendly reminder that this entire session is going to be recorded and posted on our YouTube channel. The other two sessions, maybe you weren't able to join us in July or in August, but those sessions are up there as well. So RFQ, ITB, or RFP, right? So very, very high level on these. So an RFQ, request for qualification. So this is the procurement mechanism that Precinct 2 or Harris County or any government agency says, I need this done. Are you able to build it, design it, deliver it, or provide it? So are you qualified to do the work? And I love the questions that came in the chat. One of the questions was, do the supplies have to be made in the USA? So in an RFQ, it would stipulate whether they would need to be made in the USA. Or let's say you were doing some IT services, building a website. Right? Can you outsource that? Does it need to be hosted here in the US? Can it be assembled here in the US with parts from all over? Those are the types of things where it would be very specific. So they're looking for, are you qualified to do this? So your references are very important, right? Who have you done this for? That's your past performance and your references. How are you going to do it? You've got to make sure to fill out those attachments, right? And in the grand scheme of things in this world, they're fairly easy to prepare. An ITB, an invitation to bid. So I need this done. What will you charge me? Very, very price driven, right? And very, very specific. So I need this in a certain amount of time. I'm going to buy in these certain bulks or these certain numbers of quantities. This is the frequency of which we need you to provide these goods and services. But what's good here is the similar information from the RFQ you're going to need in an ITB. You're going to need your references. You're going to need to be able to tell and communicate how you're going to get this work done. You're going to need to be able to say that you can do this, right? With your resources. An RFP, request for proposal. I have this problem, right? Or I have this challenge. What is the best solution? How much will it cost me? And can you do it? Right? And if you can't do all of it, that's okay. Maybe you can be part of a team and be a subcontractor and just be in your one lane, right? If you just do painting, then you're going to just do the painting part of this RFP. If you do staffing and you only do temporary staffing, then you're only going to do the temporary staffing for this RFP, maybe not the executive and maybe not the technical staffing, those types of things. So, right. So there is a part of an opportunity for each and every one of you within precinct 2 with these different purchasing vehicles. It's going to take a little bit more time to prepare an RFP. And they're much more competitive, right? And so what you want to focus on when you're responding to an RFP is the price plus the benefits. How are you going to reduce the risk the most? Why is your team the best solution? And Susan's going to show some examples of how, when you're responding to these, the examples that we've done from winning proposals. But what are the factors that win? They're all the same, right? So just like Mr. Thomas said, start with that relationship before the opportunity comes out. Figure out who the buyers are. That's why it's so important to schedule yourself for that buyer meeting with precinct 2. What is the solution? What is your personal experience in that space, as well as your company's, right? Maybe your company's only a few years old, but you've been doing this for 20 years. You want to make sure to communicate that. All righty, if you've got questions on what we've gone over on super high level of the different types of opportunities, go ahead and put them in the chat. I hear Susan's fingers going fast and furious over there. How to win, right? Well, that's what this is all about, is winning. It's all about, engaging small women, minority, and veteran-owned businesses and having that opportunity to build their capacity through government contracting. But what is your win, right? Mr. Thomas also talked about that this could be a 2 or 3 or 5 year contract, right? So what is our win? And if you're new to this, right, maybe you've been doing work in the oil and gas sector, now you want to pivot to construction, or maybe you've been doing work in residential and now you want to pivot to government, right? So what is the win in your victory plan? And you really need to think about that. Well, a win for each and every one of you today, right now, is attending this session, right? So that's the learning opportunity. Maybe you've never done a bid before, right? Awareness, letting precinct 2 know that you can do these specific scopes of work, getting your foot in the door, starting that relationship, right? I've got a story for you. An architectural firm bid out an opportunity, and they went ahead and responded to just get their foot in the door. They didn't win that specific opportunity, but what they did win was a much smaller opportunity with that agency. And now 3 years later, they're doing more and more work, right? A partnership is your win to introduce yourself to a prime contractor, right? Or start a different type of partnership. And then obviously win the contract. So before you even look at an opportunity, think about what your win is, right? Begin with the end in mind and think about what your schedule is. What is it going to take to respond to this opportunity? Can I continue to service my clients and my projects right now? Do I have time in my schedule to do it? What resources? What's great is Harris County has you submit your opportunities online, but some other agencies have you print them out. So what are the resources? Are you going to need help from other team members? Are you going to need help from the SBDC? Are you going to need help from B2G Victory? And then the cost. Make sure to think about what your opportunity costs are, as well as any physical costs that you're going to have to outlay to respond to these, right? Maybe it's going to be a Saturday away from your family, or Tuesday, next Tuesday, you're not going to be able to be on site because you're going to need to be at your desk working on a bid. Those types of things need to be taken into consideration. When you're reviewing it, you need to make sure that you look at every single page. Download that full RFP or that bid or ITB. Make sure that you download every single attachment, right? Make sure you get those addendums as well. No interruptions, and focus. This is active reading. Grab some highlighters, things that are going to affect price. If it's an RFP or an ITB, it's going to need to be in green. If you have a question, right, what is your win? This is a learning opportunity. So make sure to take advantage of all of those questions because that's going to help you respond better and faster, not only to precinct 2 opportunities, but Harris County and maybe even some other state of Texas opportunities. Amendments and addendums. Once you decide that you're going to go after an opportunity, you need to make sure that you're going back to bonfire whenever the questions are responded to, or if you get a notification of an addendum or an amendment. And we like to print things out. We're very active readers here. So you put these in the front of your binder if you're going to print it out. And an amendment makes a change to the contract. An addendum makes an addition to the contract. So you want to make sure that you read these very, very clearly and see if the delivery date changed, right? Or if the scope changed. You've got to make sure that any addendum or amendment that is done, you have to download it, you have to sign it, and you have to upload it to Bonfire or your non-responsive. We still have some agencies. Harris Health, for example, still wants a physical print out. And so if it says one original and no copies, but you still want to do a copy for you, because we have a client who won a contract with Harris Health, and for the interview, right? You want to be able to have that copy right there, whether it's a virtual interview or in person. So you're looking at the exact same thing that they are. The same with the thumb drive. At any question or any point, you want to make sure that you're looking at exactly what you delivered to them. Compliance versus responsive. It breaks my heart and makes my hair go straight. The stories that we hear about people being non-compliant. And that's, if it says 20 pages, guys and gals, it's 20 pages. Don't try to turn it in at 205. Formatting, especially when you're uploading to Bonfire. If they want every single form separately, then don't upload all the forms together. Make sure that they're separate. If they ask you to put in your information in the Excel file and upload it, put it in the Excel file and upload it. Another way that can help you be compliant is, as you're done with things, go ahead and upload it. If it's due at 2 o'clock, do not start uploading it at 1:58. It will not work, right? So back out that schedule that it's the day before or that morning. If it's due at 2, by 10 o'clock, you are, woohoo, look at me, I am done. Non-responsive, right? And this is where you're going to be either in the top 1 or 2 or the bottom 2 or 3. If you don't understand who your customer is and you copy and paste stuff from your website, or you're making assumptions, you're not going to be at the top. And Susan and I have been doing this for 20 years. And I can tell you that typically it's between 3 and 5 points between who is the winning team and between first and second. And it's right here. It's in the responsive. So the more that you can customize your approach and the more that you make it easier for the evaluators, you're going to be responsive. And as we go through this, we're going to show you some examples. Also, you will be automatically non-compliant. Game is over if you owe taxes. So if vendor taxes or debts for Harris County, womp womp, right? So make sure that you don't, because all of that time and effort and energy, you won't even be considered. All righty. Insurance requirements. Make sure that you look at the insurance requirements. This is another criteria that will help you decide if you're going to be the prime contractor or the subcontractor. If you don't have these insurance requirements, then maybe this isn't the right fit for you. And insurance is a way for Precinct 2 in Harris County to mitigate their risks, right? And if you don't have the insurance requirements for a specific opportunity, get on the phone, call your insurance agent and see what the price difference is. Don't increase it right then and there, but figure that out. And then also you're going to need to put that into your price consideration. If you're going to start responding to Precinct 2 in Harris County, you want to be organized. You want to be prepared, right? Because if you're prepared, then you're going to be ready. If you're ready, you're going to win contracts. So here's how we structure winning proposals. We've been doing proposals, like I said, for 20 years. We have an 87% win rate. And this is exactly how we do ours. So anything that's downloaded from Bonfire or any other government entity website goes straight into the RFQ folder. We don't change the name. It goes straight in there. Then guts or sections, whatever you want to call it, break it up by section, because if Bonfire wants it by section, that's how you're going to want to upload it. And then final, that is everything that was uploaded. How do you make sure that you're compliant? Well, you do a compliance matrix. This is where you take the RFP, RFQ, or IFB, and you slice it, and you make sure that in the granular detail of every single thing that you were addressing it. And if you've got multiple people helping you with it, then you assign it there as well. If they want 3 or 4 projects, then you need to make sure that you identify what those 3 or 4 projects are. You need to have a resume for each one of your team members. You've got to have every single one of those forms filled out and signed and uploaded. If you don't, you're going to be non-compliant. And like I said, all of that headache, all of that hard work will be for naught. Alrighty, make sure that you're putting the questions in the chat. Preparing to respond. This is a go, no go. And we put this as one of the things. So how do you know if this is a good fit for you? And we're going to go through these really fast. Are you known by the client? Right? So that goes back to that relationship. If you're known by the client and you have a well-developed working relationship, then you might want to go. If this is the first time you've heard of the procurement, right? If you didn't expect it and you've got 3 days to prepare, this may not be the right fit for you, right? If you've had time to prepare, then absolutely go forward. Are you qualified to do this work, right? If we can meet or exceed, absolutely go forward. If you're capable or you're not qualified, that's when maybe I'm a subcontractor, maybe I can do part of the work, or maybe I subcontract part of it out, right? Harris County and Precinct 2 have goals. So there are people that are on this call that you might want to work with. Do you have the staff, right? And that kind of goes back in tandem with that, right? But is your staff capable? So you need to look at your workload. Are subcontractors needed, right? And can we respond with a complete and compelling proposal? Now, if you're a subcontractor, can you get the prime the information that they need in a timely fashion? So going back to, are you prepared? And who are our competitors, right? You should start attending Precinct 2 pre-bids now to find out who is in your space. You should start going and doing research right now to see who is awarded the types of contracts that are in the space of the work that you're doing. This is why Susan and I love government contracting, because it is the only place where you can find out exactly who's also playing in your sandbox. And think about what your long-term business strategy is. What is the financial potential? A lot of these contracts are multi-year contracts that can really help set your company apart, right? So is it excellent long-term and excellent short-term? Then absolutely we want to go for it. You need to make sure that your pricing is profitable. You don't want to be awarded a contract and then go back to the agency a year later and say, I'm sorry, I got to close my doors because I didn't price appropriately. Right? And you can't cut corners. You've got to be able to know where your profitable pricing is. Alrighty, tracking. You've got to make sure that you're knowing where you're spending your time and where you're spending your energy. So what is your win rate? Start thinking about the bids that you've won over the bids that you've submitted, and do this for whether you're a prime or a subcontractor as well. And then your capture ratio is the dollar. These are the values of your bids won over the value of your the dollar value of your bids submitted. If you have any questions on any of this, just let us know. But you also want to maybe, as you're starting to evolve and grow in this space, a few other things that you can take into consideration beyond just tracking those 2 terms. But just like Mr. Thomas said, and Susan, this isn't a sprint, this is a marathon. And so if you're going to respond to a proposal and you think that you're going to get awarded next week, then you need to look at that and see how that works with your entire business life cycle, right? This is a marathon, not a sprint. Alrighty, firm profile. Susan's going to come and talk about firm profile and how do you get all these common elements together.
All right, so Sharon has a question I didn't get to. All right, so now we're going to show you some examples and of what your documents can look like or how you can articulate about your business. So the firm profile, right, as you're putting all of these documents together, you're going to have to get the information where it normally resides, which is in your head. So I'm a paper and pen type person. I grab me a yellow pad, a pen, and I start sketching out all of the things that I want to make sure that I let that government entity know about my company. Other people want to do the whole Post-it notes. This is things that we need to cover. Or maybe you are a person who likes to record And you can just set your phone, record your thoughts, and then transcribe that recording. But what you need to do is get it out of your head. All right, so Harris County. So the qualifications and experience. You need to provide information on your company that shows that you have the qualifications to do this scope of work. So here are kind of some things you might want to think about. By the numbers, it must answer why us? Why are we the most qualified? Even if you are currently doing business with Precinct 2, are currently doing business with Harris County, you want to make sure that in this new proposal, for this new opportunity, that you assume that the evaluators know nothing about your company. And that's really hard if you're already doing the work. But you still assume they don't know anything about it. Make their job easier. Talk about your quality of work, your project management, your how you do your pre-design if you're an engineering firm. How do you create the budget? Stay on budget, on timeline. So talk about why you. It's really hard to do. Remember, the only person that can answer these questions is you. Focus. If it's something that you do and it's not in the scope of work, it doesn't matter unless it might help with that project. So focus on your core offerings, focus on the scope of work in that RFP or RFQ. So here are some samples of some firm profiles. Now, obviously, this was a team of 8 companies that came together. And so those big numbers, they have completed 723 TxDOT projects combined. The numbers go across. We also show all of the teams. You have the prime and all of the subs. Taking that a next step, how many civil engineers, how many architects, how many MEPs? Again, do they have a bench? If something happens to one of the civil engineers, there's 91 other civil engineers that can step into that spot. Here's a little bit simpler with the numbers running right down the middle. It talks about the company. Now, in the actual RFP or RFQ, it's going to give you information that you need to make sure that you provide. They might want to know what your county experience is. How many other counties have you done this type of work for? So complete that. Here's a list where it just shows all of the clients that they've done business with. Explain why you are the best team. In detail, as much detail as you can, while still being concise. Because too much fluff lowers your score. Focus on quality. Focus on the scope. Too many proposals just starts. Just putting anything and everything into the document, and because there's no page limits. I can make it 150 pages. Don't do that. Make it easy on the evaluator. Make sure that you emphasize the scope and how you have done that work in the past. Experience. These can be projects, case studies, past performance, fact sheets, sales sheets, one-sheeters. But it is relevant experience. So you've heard me say it a few times, and we'll continue to say it. Make sure that the projects you are showcasing are relevant to the scope of work that you're going to be performing for P2. So the experience from a P2 opportunity, provide the organization's experience, make sure that you have the client name, contact person, client address, was it a hospital facility, the data service. So then you need to make sure all of that information is on each one of your project sheets. If not, it is not compliant. All right, so here are some examples of some project sheets. So across this one, we actually have, this is the relevant experience, the evaluation criteria. Was it an office space? Was it a garage? A parking facility? Was it a public community building? So all of this, so we check the dots so that the evaluators could look at that project very quickly and say, yes, it meets the requirements in our scope of work. Challenges and solutions. And we're finding this more and more where entities are asking, what challenge did you face? And how did you find a solution? Now, you can't very well say all of my projects have gone smoothly. We live in Harris County. Harris has sometimes flood. Sometimes the weather is an issue. So there's always some challenges. Right now, it may be a supply chain issue. So how are you finding a solution to that challenge on that particular project? So call that out so they know that you can think outside of the box and you're going to get the job done. You'll find a way. Now, if you live in Houston, you may have, as you're traveling down 290 right by the Beltway, the old Jones Carpet Building. It's now the Tech Stop Building. So using that as a project sheet, obviously you can't really read those plans. They're very small. So we have called out what is it on each floor so that if we're using that project on a scope of work, have we done that type of work? All right, remember, drop your questions in. We're going to talk about the team. So we talked about the experience of the company. Now we're going to talk about the experience of the individuals that make up the team. So one of the first things you're going to do is do your org chart. This is who is the point of contact, who's the project manager, who's going to be that single point of contact, who are all of the team members for the prime, as well as any subcontractors you're going to use. You have their information as well, because you're also going to need to provide a resume for each one of those. So you can do this as a different way to kind of showcase by services provided. You can have one that kind of showcases the communication between the prime and the subs. So now let's talk about the actual individuals. So now we have a big picture of our team. Let's meet the individuals that make up it. So I'm going to introduce you to my friend, Joe. Now, Joe is the vice president of the company that he works for. He is not the vice president of the project. So what is his role? And that may change. He may be just the civil engineer. He may be the project manager. So we're going to have his role. Oops. We're going to have his role. We're going to talk about what commitment he has to this, his professional designations, any industry involvement, how long he has been with the company that he works for, and how long he's been in the industry. That's sort of all under Joe's headshot. Then we're going to talk about his areas of expertise. This is what Joe does, and this is what Joe does really well. And then we're going to list relevant projects on there. So that is the section that changes for every Joe project. If he's included, what projects has he completed that match the scope of work? So now we have roadway Joe. So that was what we call Longview Joe. It's what projects he's done for the city of Longview. This is what projects he's done that are relevant to a TxDOT or a road project. So we've listed Joe's TxDOT pre-certification, and this particular RFQ wanted descriptions of the projects on the resume. So we have listed those. And then we have the sidewalk ADA design Joe. And again, that falls under what work he has done in that particular scope. So Joe's resume is updated for every single proposal. Now, some of the funding for Precinct 2 or Harris County is federal money. So if you're an engineering or an architect firm and you're responding, you may be requested to do an SF 330. And that is a federal form that you're going to list all of the people on there, as well as the sample projects that you do, which ones they have worked on. And all of this information needs to be filled out. That doesn't mean you're not going to submit a resume, but this is a form that must be included. You're going to list all of their disciplines by the code that they use, as well as experience categories by those codes. Great thing about the SF 330, it does give you plenty of instructions on how to fill it out and some samples, but you want to make sure that you include that or you're you are non-compliant. All right, Julie is going to talk about approach.
Yep, approach. So this is things that you can start working on right now when you see an opportunity, right? So start thinking about how do you approach a project? And this is one of the best ways to set your company apart from other ones, right? And we've had some comments, well, I'm new to my certification or I'm new to government space. Well, what approach makes your project successful? How are you going to do the work? How do you do the work? And why do people choose you specifically and your company? Is it how you manage the project? Is it communication? Is it that you have a dedicated contact? Is it your equipment? These types of things are ways that you can set yourself apart when you're responding to the approach. Sometimes it's called the methodology as well, right? So go back to what Susan was talking about is maybe you grab your phone, maybe you grab your notepad and just start thinking about these things and getting it down, right? The hardest thing for a lot of people for starting all this is just getting it together. Here's a screenshot. We made sure that we got screenshots from actual Harris County opportunities. So here it is. Firm organization and project methodology. This is straight out of an RFP, right? So we need the philosophy, the approach, preferred methods for meeting the requirements. How do you do your reporting? What is the team going to be organized by, right? So here's an example of a phased approach, right? And you don't have to have these really nice graphics. They do help, but just we wanted to show you relevant examples. So how are you going to break this out? How are you going to schedule your team? How are you going to schedule the work? And how do you handle quality assurance and quality control? How do you make sure that you are delivering a solid product or solid services, right? So those are two examples for approach. Pre-bid, right? So pre-bids are huge. And this is back to learning, right? So figure out when a pre-bid is, and don't worry if you're going to be the prime or a sub, just attend a pre-bid, right? And there's etiquette about this. So you want to make sure to be very respectful to everyone, whether it's virtually or in person, right? This is your first impression that most people are going to get with working with you and your company. So how do you find out about it? Well, in every opportunity, whether it's an RFQ, an IFB, or an RFP, if there is a pre-bid, it will say it, a pre-proposal conference or a pre-submittal conference. It says exactly what the date and the time is, whether it's virtual or in person or hybrid, right? But before you go, you better make sure that you've reviewed the entire opportunity and think about what role and what services you can provide, right? So are you going to be a prime contractor and manage all of the work? Or are you going to be a subcontractor, right? If you're new to this space, I highly encourage each and every one of you to consider being a subcontractor. And I had my previous marketing agency. We actually were much more profitable when we were a subcontractor on various projects. We did what we were good at. We excelled at that. We were profitable at that. And that's where we stayed. So at a pre-proposal conference, who's all there, whether they're virtually or in person, where there might be the hub contractor, the specific buyer, right, for primes. It could be their project manager or their business development person or other subs. So use this opportunity to help each other out. Ask, what contracts are they on? How did they get started? What have they found to be successful? Right. And this is also where you 100% leverage your certifications, right? Because if it's out for bid, that means it's more than likely over $50,000 or up, right? And there are going to be goals. There's going to be small business or hub goals on that. And if you have your certification, then that's already a leg up that you have for other people. So in summary, when you're preparing for the pre-bid, make sure that you review the scope of services. Make sure you can identify and list the trades and services that you provide. That's going to differentiate whether you're going to be a prime or whether you're going to be a sub, right? And bring copies of your capability statement. This is a huge marketing opportunity that you've got. If you're prepared, then you're ready. If you're ready, you're going to win. We've got a few examples of some capability statements. And this is where you want to have it printed on nice paper, and then you want to follow up with it electronically, right? And so those are two quick examples. And then we wanted to make sure that you join us in October for the Power of Your Capability Statement session. So the entire 90 minutes, that's what we're going to be focused on, is how you use your capability statement to win you work with Precinct 2 in Harris County. And in closing with your pre-bid meeting, I'm going to take a quote from one of our favorite clients, Greg with Honesty Construction. You got to suit up and you got to show up, whether it is virtual or in person. You better look professional. And if you're out in the field a lot, well, then keep a suit and a tie or a jacket or something professional in your truck. Go and do a costume change, at a restaurant or whatever. Make sure that you look professional when you're doing it. And in closing, Susan's busy. You want me to close? You're going to close? She's going to close. All right. And I'll pick up. Her fingers were going super fast.
All right. We have, just a few more minutes. We're going to go over some things, and then we're going to open it up for some additional Q&A. All right. So I hope that everyone has that piece of paper and they've started writing down all of the things that they're going to do next week, because this week is almost over. What are you going to do, put in place for your quarter 3, quarter 4, and then next year? If you've got a couple of things already on that victory plan, go ahead and drop them in the chat so we can know what you're going to be doing. Yeah, just any 3 or 4 takeaways that you are going to take immediate action on. Drop those in the chat. We'd love to hear some of the things that you found very helpful for today. Or some of the things you still have questions on. All right, so if you click on that QR code, that's going to take you to our website. Again, we're going to have a folder under post session that's going to have some samples, some templates. We actually have a resume template, a project template to kind of help you get started. It's hard to really think about what information needs to be put in that type of document. But keep in mind, these are templates, but you need to read through the RFP or RFQ to ensure that everything they are requesting that goes on that resume or on that project sheet is included. We want you to connect with Precinct 2 in Harris County on their social medias. We want you to go ahead and schedule your Meet the Buyer. And again, those sessions fill up fairly quickly, so you want to go ahead and get on the schedule. If you have not registered on Bonfire for Harris County, you need to get that done today. You don't want to wait until there's an opportunity. You may not even hear about it. Research the bids. Go back and watch last month's recording. It's going to show you how to go and find information on Bonfire, current bids, past bids, and different information that you can use to start planning your response for when that comes back out to bid. Attend a pre-bid session. Get to know the format. Pass out your capability statement. So I had one company that I would show up at just about every pre-bid. He's a printing company. Every company needs printing. So he would pass out capability statements at every pre-bid. Now you may not can attend everyone, but it is good to go to one, even if it's not your scope of work, just to get an understanding of who you're going to meet and what information is provided. If you don't have a capability statement, now's the time to get one. Budgets are ending, budgets are starting. There are a lot of opportunities out there. So, and if you do have one, maybe you need to update it. Capability statements should be updated up at least every 6 months. You might have new clients that you want to showcase on there. You might have updated your insurance or updated your bonding. So go ahead and look at your capability statement. When's the last time you did a refresh? We encourage you to go ahead and register for next month's seminar, where we're actually going to talk about capability statement, and we're going to go through all of the parts and pieces that you should have on your capability statement and show you lots of samples so that you can kind of put yours together. We talked about connecting with Precinct 2. Emily is going to drop in all of the links to make it easy for you. And then again, those links will be available in the post-session folder on our website. Register for the Meet the Buyer. Again, we're going to drop that link in now. I think when we registered for ours, Julie, we had to register like a month or so in advance. I mean, it's pretty several months in advance, because it again fills up pretty fast. And it's a great way to get a better understanding about Precinct 2 from one of their actual buyers. We have a couple of different events that we encourage you to attend. There is an all-day virtual lender matchmaking event on the 23rd. There's some pre-work that you need to do, so go ahead and get registered for that and watch some of their videos so that you can better prepare yourself to talk to a lender. There is a Fort Bend event coming up, Fort Bend ISD. And then, of course, we'll be back for Precinct 2 in October and talk about capability statements. All right, we have a post-event survey, which Emily is going to drop the link in the chat. Please take the time to fill it out. This helps us improve the information that we're providing. It also helps us plan for additional seminars that might benefit your company. So we need to hear from you. Here is our contact information. All right, and we have 6 minutes. So let's open it up for Q&A, and I'm going to bring Julie back because she hears better than I do.
And Mr. Thomas, do we have your permission to distribute your slides as a PDF and put those in the post-session place on our website for this specific seminar?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
Okay, perfect. So there'll be lots of, you're going to get a template on, there's 2 templates for your resume. There is a page with all of the links. We will also PDF Mr. Thomas's presentation, so you'll get all of those links as well. Like Emily said, the video, we're going to do some editing, and the YouTube video will be posted within a week. So you'll get an email from us on that. So the learning doesn't stop today, right? So you can continue your learning at any time on the YouTube channel and review the previous Precinct 2 videos. We're going to be sending you links and information from this session. The handouts from the previous Precinct 2 seminars are also available on our website as well. And then we've got this ongoing, the 3rd Thursday of every month, the seminars just like this one provided by Precinct 2. So if you have a question or would like to make a comment, go ahead and raise your hand, and then we'll go ahead and unmute you. While we're waiting for some hands to be raised, Francis, Jose, and the Precinct 2 team, do y'all have any other additional comments or points that you'd like to make?
Not at this time. I think everything was covered pretty well. Francis, do you have anything?
Yes. So I just want to, first of all, just thank you, Julie and Susan, and all the B2G Victory team. You're doing excellent as you do every month. Great work. A special thank you to Mr. Jack Thomas. Thank you for providing all the information you did from the DEO's office. And just also all the vendors that are joining us today. Thank you all for being on tonight, or this morning rather. I hope these people are just a wealth of information. Hope you took notes and you keep joining us as we continue forward with these monthly. A quick announcement I do want to make regarding Meet the Buyers. We are doing those in person starting next month. So be looking forward to those, but our calendar is open. Feel free to log in and see what works best for you as for your schedule. That's it. Thank you very much.
Francis, for the in-person Meet the Buyer, would you obviously prefer them to have a capability statement in hand, ideally in a perfect scenario, and also be registered on Bonfire?
Yes, that is ultimately our goal, is to get everyone to do business with Harris County, correct? And so they'll be registered with Harris County and also on Bonfire and have everything ready. Yes.
That'll be a much better
Yes,
buyer.
ready to go.
Yep, exactly. Be ready, be prepared, and get ready to get a contract.
Exactly.
And if you haven't signed up in Bonfire, that when you do sign in, they do have videos to help you navigate through it, and they're very helpful. And so don't be intimidated when you first join in. It'll be really helpful for your future, hopefully, bids and proposals.
Thank you very much, Ann. And Precinct 2 and Harris County aren't the only government entities that use Bonfire, right? And so when you're getting familiar with Bonfire and you're setting up your profile, that's going to help you navigate easier and quicker if you want to do work with other agencies. Now you're going to have to set up a different profile with those other agencies, but it'll be a whole lot faster and a whole lot easier. For example, HISD also uses Bonfire. We hope that everything that we went through today helps you with this process. We want to make it as less frustrating, less intimidating, and less overwhelming. You've got an incredible support team with Harris County Precinct 2 and us that are truly and passionately dedicated to help you be successful. Most importantly, the learning doesn't stop today. The support doesn't stop today. And the celebration to help each other be successful in this space doesn't stop today. So if you have a question, you've got all sorts of contact information. We look forward to seeing you next month if we don't see you online at an event in person or in another virtual event. Jose, would you like to close us out and say a few closing comments and words?
Jose had to leave.
Jose had to leave. Okay, so sorry. Jose had to leave. Francis or Ann, any other closing comments?
You were muted, Francis.
Of course I